All right, in this video, we're going to go over Module 6, Lesson 4, which is Systems of Linear Inequalities. This is just one page of notes, and this is in regard to benchmark AR 9.4, which says graph the solution set of a system of two variable linear inequalities. So a system of linear inequalities is two or more linear inequalities. So these are all your equality symbols: less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, that are graphed together. So we have to have two or more inequalities, and we're going to graph them together. The solution to a system of linear inequalities is the overlapping region of points that satisfy both inequalities. So here we have an example of y is greater than 2x minus 1 and y is less than or equal to negative 1/2 x plus 1. Now, the first step we're going to have to do is graph the first inequality, which here I've highlighted in pink, and then we're going to shade, okay? So when I graph this first inequality, we're going to do the same exact steps that we did in Module 5, or the previous module where we had to graph just one inequality. The only difference is now we have to graph two. So my b term, so my y-intercept is -1. That's always the number that is by itself when I'm in slope-intercept form. So whenever I have my constant by itself, that's the b term, which is -1. So I'm going to go over here to my graph, and I'm going to go on the y-axis to -1. And now I need to graph my slope. And my slope of this inequality is 2. That's the coefficient, or the number in front of the x. So when I have a slope of 2, I have to imagine that I have this over 1. So I'm going to go up 2 from my y-intercept and go over 1 to the right 1 for a positive slope. So this is my second point. Now I have to figure out, do I have a solid line or a dotted line? Well, because of this inequality, it says greater than but not equal to. I'm going to have a dotted line. And because it says greater than, it's going to actually be above. Okay, so remember, anytime I have a greater than or equal to symbol, I'm shading above the line. Now I have to go ahead and graph my second equation. Y is less than or equal to 1/2 x plus 1. And when I graph this second equation, first I'm going to identify my y-intercept, just like I did before. So a positive 1. I'm going to go over here to my graph and plot my point at positive 1 on my y-axis. Then I'm going to identify my slope, which is a -1/2. So in -1/2, I can either go up 1 and to the left 2, which is what I did here, or I could have gone down 1 and to the right 2. Either one would be acceptable. Now I have to determine, based on the inequality sign, is it solid or dotted? And this inequality tells me that it's a solid line. So I can draw my solid line, and then I have to determine if it's above or below. Well, this symbol right here says less than. It's pointed to the left, so it's less than, which means I have to shade below the line. And this area down here is below that solid line. So step 3 is the region where the shading overlaps. Remember, the overlapping region of points. This area right here is where those two shaded areas overlap. So that is the solution to the system of inequalities. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to our first example here. We have y is greater than 4x minus 3. So that's the first equation. And before I begin, I'm going to first identify my b, which is right here, this -3. So I'm going to go here on my graph and plot my -3. Next, I'm going to identify my slope of this line, which here is 4. So if I don't have a denominator, I know it's going to be an imaginary 1. So from here, I'm going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a positive 4, so I'm going to go to the right 1 for a positive slope. This inequality sign tells me it's a dotted line because it does not have the equal sign. And then finally, this says greater than, y is greater than 4x minus 3. So all the y values that are above the line or above my y-intercept is what I shade. Now I'm going to go ahead and graph my second line. Y is greater than or equal to negative 1/2 x plus 1. So that's where I'm going to use this information. My y-intercept, my b term, is that number that's by itself, the 1. So I'm going to go here and plot the 1. My slope is negative 1/2. So from here, I can either go up 1 to the left 2, which is what I've done, or I could have gone down 1 to the right 2, and I have a solid line because it has the equal sign right here. And I'm going to shade above because it says y is greater than or equal to this line. And everything greater than or equal to that line is above the line. And so the area that it overlaps is right here in that top quadrant. Okay, in this last example, example 2, we actually need to take these two equations and rewrite them into slope-intercept form so that we can graph them and then know where to shade. So this first equation, 2x plus y is greater than or equal to 2. This one's really easy to rewrite into slope-intercept form because all I have to do is subtract 2x from both sides. And when I subtract 2x from both sides, the y will then be by itself. So I get y is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 2. Now I'm going to rewrite this equation, 6x plus 3y is less than 12. That's what I have right here. Now I have to write this in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. 3y is less than negative 6x plus 12. Divide all terms by 3. And I get y is less than negative 2x because negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. 12 divided by 3 is a positive 4. So, and I did not need to flip the inequality sign because I did not divide or multiply by a negative number. My b term is 2. My m is negative 2. I'm going to have a solid line because of the inequality, and I'm going to shade above because of the inequality. So here is my point at positive 2. Slope of negative 2 means I'm going to go up 2 and to the left 1. Up and to the left is negative, or down and to the right. There's my second point. It says solid. And above, there's my shaded area for my first inequality. Now here I have y is less than negative 2. Notice that I have the same slope, different y-intercepts. My y-intercept is 4. Slope is negative 2. Dotted line and below. So there's my dotted line. And the area that's below that is everything right here. So the only area that it actually is shaded for both is that sliver right in between the two parallel lines. Okay, so that is the solution for number 2. That is it for our notes. Please make sure that you complete your notes. I recommend using highlighters and not pencils for your shading. And hopefully you can now complete the practice. Have a good day.